Hey everyone, I wanted to go over the new and exciting news that we got for Monster Hunter Rise on the Nintendo Switch. And that's the fact that with the drop of the 3.6 version patch update and the Sonic collaboration, we also got a bunch of new event quests that we are now able to partake in, one of which is specifically easily the toughest event quest that we have received so far. If you don't necessarily know how to get your event quest, make your way down to the Steelworks, speak to the courier cat, go all the way down to the bottom and check out the add-ons option and basically claim anything that's labeled in white, be it event quest, downloadable content, free items, or anything along those lines. One of those event quests you're going to be able to pick up there is called Apex Rathian Emergency, where you're going to be fighting an Apex Rathian in the lava caverns. And the reason why I say this is probably the toughest event quest we've received is that because this one has boosted damage parameters and it's pretty much a killer. The situation with this event quest in the lava caverns is pretty much typically it starts out like a normal Apex hunt. You're not necessarily too worried about it. And then someone gets hit and you start looking at their health just either tick away because pretty much almost every one of their tail hits from the Apex Rathian will lead into boosted poison, meaning that you're taking 2 hits of poison per tick instead of just the usual one. But also it hits like a truck. So one of the things that you're going to notice is that it's going to poison you rather easily, and it hits pretty damn hard on top of the normal hit damage parameters you would have taken already. And then on top of that, whenever it does its fire breath attacks, which are explosions, I believe a wide AoE attack that it does, that fire also has boosted parameters as well. So you're going to see that fire, you have to dodge roll 3 separate times to be able to get rid of just the fire debuff. Well, if you don't heal up before you even start rolling, chances are you're just going to drop dead. That's not even to mention the fact that you need to come into this quest probably with a decent amount of armor and pretty much max health already. Now this is a quest type that's pretty much in the same vein of the one that we got for Arzuros, the Ibushi and Narwa fights that we got, and a couple of others as well that we have seen. But so far this Apex Rathian one is easily the toughest one because all of the other things that I already mentioned. There's also the spikes that it throws in the ground that are poisonous, so if you don't necessarily know where you're stepping or you're not necessarily too careful, you're pretty much going to be able to step on that poison, and again it's going to tick twice as fast and it's going to hit you for even more extra damage. So one of the things that I would suggest people to pretty much right away to step into this quest is to pretty much take care of some birds. Go pick up some life birds, some defense ones. Don't necessarily focus on offense unless they're just on the way. In the life caverns, there's a pretty hefty amount of birds that you're going to be able to just easily, make your way through and pick up a couple of them to expand your health bar and pick up a couple of defense ones just in case to pretty much just be able to survive a little bit better. If you're a little bit too concerned with how tough this actual quest is, especially if you're a gunner. If you're a gunner and you go in there without like armor stuff or pretty much like boosters for defense, you're gonna get one-shotted easily. You just don't have enough defense to be able to handle it. So one of those things that I would definitely suggest is make use of those birds, get some defense, get some health, and you should be definitely prepared to be able to tackle it. Another thing that I would actually suggest to everyone is to make sure to cut the tail as soon as possible. One of the things that I noticed in the hunts that I was doing, I actually failed it 2 times before I actually got into a decent group that understood how the quest was working, how difficult it was, and we were able to take care of it no problem. But one of the things that I saw everyone doing in that 3rd quest was that they were all focusing on getting the tail chopped off as soon as possible. Me as a gunner, pretty much I was just taking care of that tail as soon as I could, and other people were definitely helping out on the tail as well. Obviously you still need to be careful because it's going to swipe up twice whenever it does this swipe, like vertical swing up and down type of attack. But you definitely want to chop off that tail. The reason for that is because I don't believe that the poison attack bonuses or even the poison that attaches to you is going to be active if it actually hits you with the tail, because it no longer has the point of the tail to actually poison you. On top of that, it also has shortened range of its tail attack. So whenever it does that tail swipe attack, pretty much it has shorter range, so it can't actually hit you if you're like still within range but not pretty much close to its butt. So it's one of those things that you definitely want to chop off that tail as soon as possible and make your life extremely easier by just getting rid of that one body part. The rest of the fight should be not necessarily a cakewalk, but it should be easily handleable with any group that kind of understands what to do. The reason why I say this is probably the toughest event quest is because the Arceros event quest that we got that had those high parameters, damage modifiers, it was just an Arceros. Arceros is not necessarily all that dangerous. And the Apex, Ibushi, and the Narwa fights that have those boosted parameters as well, they were kind of just, again, if you've done those fights in the past, they're not necessarily dangerous. There's pretty much like 2 to 3 faces to each one of those, so they're not necessarily all that tough. But this thing, again, it hits so hard and it has those debuffs on top of that, that I definitely found it to be surprisingly tough. At the very least, if you're not prepared, you definitely should be going into being able to do this event quest. What this does mean to me, at the very least, heading into the future, is that most likely we're going to continue to be able to get these high damage parameter Apex fights, meaning that there's a pretty good chance we're going to be able to get a Mitsuzune and an Apex Sinogre one. And Apex Sinogre is pretty much recognized by most people as the toughest Apex out of all of the ones that we have available in the game right now. And that definitely bodes well if we're going to get a high damage parameter Sinogre fight in the near future. Now, he's not necessarily the toughest out of all the fights that you're going to be able to have in the game. But again, if he has boosted damage parameters, which he already hits pretty damn hard as it is, especially with his like lightning pounces and stuff like that, that fight is going to be pretty much a massacre. I can definitely see people having a little bit of a tough time with that fight if they're not necessarily too prepared. But yeah, that's about all the information that I have for you guys today, specifically on this quest. I found it to be extremely enjoyable. It's not one of those quests that I want to go back to do anytime soon, only because I was just surprised as to how much of a tough fight it actually was. I didn't necessarily think Apex Rathian was that much of a tough fight in the very first time that I fought it, or any of the other subsequent times that I ended up fighting it. But this specific version of this quest, man, it was tough, it was fun, it was enjoyable, and it's the type of challenge that we're definitely looking forward to, that the game is definitely hungry for as we make our way into Sunbreak. And again, hopefully in Sunbreak, when we start seeing G-rank versions of all these monsters and new ones, hopefully the difficulty just ratchets up to another level. I'm always reminded of those Ivory Lagiacrus fights in, like, I believe Monster Hunter 3 Ultimate or something like that. Man, those were just ridiculously tough. So I'm definitely, like, I yearn for those days. I miss those days where those fights were just like, you get hit one time, you're dead. It doesn't matter how much defense you have. It was just ridiculously tough. So I'm definitely looking forward to, hopefully, Sunbreak bringing something close to that into the fold. But if you're brand new to my channel, be sure to leave a like and subscribe. Hit the bell to receive notifications when the videos go up. And as always, thank you so much for watching. See ya.